pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, before we go on to public comment, I just want to do a quick introduction of our.
Yes, Michael Penza is our assistant project manager, and occasionally he'll attend the building committee's meetings with myself and Mark.
Welcome.
Thank
Happy
you.
to have you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so why don't we go right on to public comments then? Since we are in hybrid meeting, we have opportunity for both in-person and virtual public comments. We always offer in-person public comment first. We do not have anybody with us here this evening. So we will open it up if there is anybody virtually. We don't have anybody virtually attending either, so we will move on from public comment this evening. We'll go right on to item D, which is minutes. So can I have a motion to approve the attached March 15, 2023 minutes?
Motion. Second.
Discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, motion, opposed? Motion passes. All right, we will go on to item E, which is correspondence received. This would be correspondence we received between 3/14/2023 to 4/17/2023, which we did not have anything included in this packet, I don't believe, right? But I always take an opportunity now for community members who do happen to listen to the recording of this meeting at a later date to remind them there is an opportunity on our website to use the contact form to contact us with any questions, thoughts, comments they'd like to share with the building committee. We certainly encourage that throughout the process and continuing on in the future. So great way to be in touch with us, get more information, and we'll get back to you with a timely answer as soon as possible. So we'll go right on to reports then. F1 is chair report. I don't have anything specific to mention this evening. So we'll go right on to F2, which is town council liaison report. Johnny?
Yeah, if you guys can hear me. The big thing is that we have the budget next week for referendum Thursday, the 27th. That's the townwide budget, and then there'll be 2 referendum questions, which I'll let Chris dive into for the 1928. And then the other one is for some road bonding for $4 million. That's pretty much all there is at this point.
All right, we'll open it up for questions for Johnny. All right, thank you. We'll move right on to Board of Education liaison report. Sarah?
I don't think we have anything to report that would be relevant to this committee at this time.
All right, perfect. Any questions for Sarah? Anything specific?
I don't think it matters to the group. We did set the graduation date otherwise. June 30th.
Oh, okay.
Last day of school.
It matters to me.
Yeah.
But I have a graduate.
You haven't heard yet.
I know.
Oh.
You probably know. See,
It's
just
official.
tell me. Excellent. Good to know. Thank you. All right, so we'll move right on to F4, 1928 Building Committee Liaison Report.
Yeah, the committee through the value engineering process has made amendments to the project itself to keep it within the confines of the budget scope. So we're ready there. And as Johnny alluded to, I guess our next moves will be dictated the motion or the 1928 building will be up for a referendum along with the budget and the road approval projects. The $16 million scope, as people probably know, of the project reduced by $7 million application of ARPA funds. So the total question on referendum will be the approval of $9 million. And we'll see what happens on the 27th, and that will be determine our next steps.
All right, any other questions for Chris? Great. Thank you. We'll move right on to F5, owner's rep report. Okay,
So for us, we submitted the second payment request into the state. So between the high school and central office, the town should be receiving a payment of around 6.8 million from the state in the upcoming weeks. And then once we get that payment, we can go ahead and submit the third one, so we can kind of the money flowing. The only other things that we've been working on are we continue our professional team meetings with ONG and TSKP. We meet usually on Fridays to review any critical submittals, RFIs, change orders. And then between myself and Mark and Mike will report back to Kat if anything needs to be reviewed with the decision making group. And if they have any questions or anything like that. And then also we're still working on finalizing with TSKP and the superintendents and the decision making group, all the furniture and technology that they're gonna want the new building. So we're working on finalizing those decisions and yeah.
Any questions for Sam? Okay. All right, we will go right on to architect report.
So TSKP is continuing their efforts in kind of reviewing and returning critical alpine submittals highlighted by ONG. And the next thing is this week we're working on area E steel shop drawings. So that's the area which has the auditorium and the music classrooms. And also the steel shops for the precast. Those are the bands on the exterior of the building. And we have a meeting scheduled, like Susan with the Farmington design team for the furniture for the different spaces. And we also want a meeting scheduled to confirm the area E, again, the music and auditorium color schemes too. That's all.
Questions? Yeah, all right. We will go right on then to construction manager report.
Working with TSKP and CSG, with submittals, RFIs, weekly job meetings. And, we're actually starting to, think about not this summer, but the following summer as far as emptying out this school, moving into the new school and the logistics that takes place, on the campus. So we're starting those discussions. We're having bi-weekly meetings for this summer. This summer's work specifically with Monteith Drive, which gets completely redone. A lot of the utilities and new granite curbing, sidewalks, paving. So that's going to be a good portion of the summer work, and also upper parking lot work that gets built outside of a building footprint. We're working with a project team on that. And as far as our ONG builds, which we've had students, teachers, it's taken on a life of its own. It's everybody's really excited. Actually, today we have the student council over. There were about 30 students, and it's really exciting. We show them a good portion of the work. And we have staff walk through every Friday. So it's taken off, and we're also issuing out some nice newsletters that give a snapshot of the work taking place. Basically more informative to the teachers and students. And George and I have been interviewed by the 905 News as well. So it's an exciting project for the school, and they're basically waiting for us to turn it over. So we are on time, on budget. I could quickly show some photos. The report is getting larger and larger. I don't want to spend a lot of the committee's time unless you do have questions. On the schedule section, we have picked up some time from last month. We had some negative days. Now we have positive days on the milestones. So on the internal milestones of the building, of each building, we picked up some time, but the end date is still stays the same. And that'll fluctuate here and there. We haven't added any categories or any constraints. We have the steel wrapping up, foundation work will be wrapped up shortly, and then planning for the topping off ceremony for next month. And more work to be done, and we're on schedule and on budget. If there's any questions regarding the work, or
Want to do a quick picture?
yeah, you can, if you go to the very end, Devin, just, I always include 4 or 5 pictures, and again, these pictures they lag by about 2 weeks. We did supply some drone shots, that, I believe have been posted on the website. So as of last week, or a few weeks ago, this is the gymnasium area. That was the subgrade. Now the slabs have been placed, the concrete. And again, this gives you the vantage point of building footprint, but this is looking in the direction of the auditorium. The auditorium is in this section where we're finishing up the footings. Go to the next one. Those are the slab on decks, then the second floor of building A, the first classroom pod. That concrete has been placed and they're progressing into B. And the fireproofing, which I don't have any pictures of fireproofing, but that started on the first floor section, which are the beams that get encased. Beams and columns. So this is your main concourse area, so those open areas will be your skylight. This is the first floor, and to your right here is the cafeteria serving area, and then beyond where that loader, this corner there, that's your cafeteria area, which it runs between the auditorium and the gymnasium areas. I think I have one more picture. And again, this is a dated photo from a week and a half ago, but that's your auxiliary gym and your main gym areas. So roughly where this picture is located, that's the dividing wall, more or less, in that general. And we actually have been meeting with Matt, the athletic director. We're going over the layouts for the volleyball inserts and the badminton inserts. So we're already talking about things that are going to get done later in the year as far as the gym equipment. And this is the auditorium area. Those were the foundation excavations, and now the footings are already in place. Auditorium, and then your admin with that pickup truck. The admin section of the building is in that area, and the tower is your main entrance. One of those. If there's any other questions? Yes.
Any other questions, any other details? So nothing we should be concerned about at this moment.
No, and I have a section in my report as far as if there's cost or schedule impacts, and at this moment in time, not.
Also, just thinking, maybe, Kat and I were talking, maybe the start of our next building committee meeting, if the committee's amenable, we'll add the first agenda item to put hard hats on everyone here and get a real live look at it too. Would that be something that we could arrange?
Yeah, absolutely.
If the committee thinks that, I think that would just be good for
Yeah,
everyone to get
nice.
in there too.
Nice way of seeing them instead of in photos.
Great.
And we did order more hard hats and safety glasses and
Good.
So make sure you wear appropriate clothing to take a tour.
And shoes.
Closed
And
toes.
shoes.
it's closed-toed shoes.
Yeah.
We'll provide the safety glasses and the vests. We do have hard hats, but I think the school also purchased the Riverhawk logos.
Yeah.
The logos, and those are nice hard hats, but if we have plenty.
So we'll bring them in. I think that would just, provided the weather.
Yeah.
We'll all get in there and get to see it firsthand.
Yeah.
And the areas that we'll tour will make sure that it's, it's an area that could safely walk.
Right, that's good, we'll make sure. It will be part of our normal timing, it wouldn't come ahead of.
Yeah, I would say,
we normally start at 5 o'clock, we wouldn't have on the agenda to start the meeting call to order on the site, just because we'll have a quorum, as it is.
You could use our conference room.
Oh, yeah, we'll meet at the ONG trailer.
Oh.
Call the meeting to order, get out there as the first agenda item, and then we'll come back and.
Yeah,
finish the meeting.
We have plenty of space. It's a double line. Well, you know, it's just gonna be brief.
Yeah, that's good, yeah, all right.
And we can actually set up virtually if there are some members that can't make it. We could set up a virtual conference.
Yeah, that would make it easier than coming all the way here.
To stay there and have the meeting there. Okay. Yeah, this is,
Yeah, we have the logistics to set up.
and we're talking about the second, the meeting. For the
Yeah, typically, we've been in a pattern of not needing,
Once a month.
not needing the first meeting, so that would be,
17.
yeah, May 17th. What we're aiming for. Right after the topping off ceremony is.
Will we still have our subcommittee?
Probably,
Yeah.
we wouldn't figure out, yeah, we've already,
Yeah,
Okay,
so we'll probably end up doing the opposite. We'll we can talk about that.
okay.
Great. All right, any other questions for Nelson? Any other detail? Excellent. All right. We will go right on to communications, subcommittee report. I'll do a quick overview and then any members who are here, please supplement as you see fit. We had a communication subcommittee meeting right before this meeting. We've got a lot of work done, which was great. The main agenda items were updates to the website, and specifically really the focus around the topping off ceremony. So we will have a dedicated page on the website with the details on the topping off ceremony. So the landing page will will direct people to that secondary page for more information. But we will be obviously publicizing the event as well on social media and in the newsletter. We're going to try to get that information out to people as soon as possible. So just as a reminder, it is the 13th, Saturday, May 13th at 9 a.m. So if everybody put that in their calendar. I'm encouraging attendance by all of us. Obviously, this is a big event for us. So, but we're obviously opening this up to all our main stakeholders. We're certainly going to be sending invites out to everybody who's been involved with the project as well as the community. So we're trying to make this big celebration and a big event. So we really talked a lot about the logistics of the event mostly, which I'm not sure we need to go into too much detail with everybody here, but speakers, the agenda items. So it's really, we're looking at 9 to 10 only on that Saturday morning. It is rain or shine. For everybody to know there will be a tent. So just in case there's inclement weather, but it will go on as scheduled. And you know, just looking for just a nice, simple event to watch the topping off and have the beam ready and hoisted. Great picture taking opportunity for all of us. Media will be invited. So I think it'll be kind of a nice way to celebrate the success. So far, we will have students there. We're gonna have the band, the marching band there. The mascot's gonna be there. It's gonna be.
So yeah, our
Yeah.
third canteen will be doing coffee and breakfast sandwiches. It'll be a nice event.
Should we let them know that beforehand? We might have committee members to. Just,
Yeah, yeah.
we're gonna set something up beforehand so that the beam is signed and ready to be hoisted on the day.
Yes.
So that we're
Rather
not
than
signing,
managing at the event.
you guys aren't waiting for us to sign it, it's gonna be set.
Yeah, ready to go. So you'll get more details on that when it's available. It won't be like one time. You'll have a available time to get out there and sign, and Nelson's gonna help us coordinate that. And then we did a very brief walkthrough of the newsletter. It's gonna be pretty short and sweet for this newsletter, but it's scheduled to go out in the beginning of May. Again, including information about the topping off, renderings, renderings as well as pictures that we have seen that Nelson supplied, as well as some additional photos that we thought were a nice snapshot of progress. And then just a few bullet points on what's up next and what to expect. So not a big big, huge newsletter, but I think a nice recap for the community on what's happened to date and what to expect moving forward through the end of the year. Did I miss any big items? Yep, just save the date for everybody to know. All right, any questions on communications? All right, financial subcommittee report. Most of what we're going to talk about is included in our pack of information per usual. So remember that when we go into our new business section, we're going to be talking about invoices and change orders, all that. And just as a reminder, has been reviewed by the financial subcommittee last week. And questions were answered and additional details were provided, but obviously that's going to all be opened up tonight for additional conversation. And as standard, we tend to also look at the financial from a kind of a larger perspective on spending, and we'll try to get some more detail around that. Help us with kind of gauging where we are in the process and against budget. All that great information. So that's our standard agenda. I don't think there's anything else specific in financial something that discussed. All right, financial report. No new report. The next one, maybe. Yeah, have an update. Yeah. Especially for money. A little money for the topping off ceremony. Okay, all right, so let's move right on to new business. So item G1. So can I get a motion to approve the following invoice pack for Farmington Central offices as stated in the agenda?
Motion.
Second. All right, we'll open it up for discussion. Nothing specific here, Sam, right? Just a standard invoice for CFP professional services for March 2023. Yeah, okay, great. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Okay, so we'll move right on to G2. So can I get a motion to approve the following invoice package for Farmington High School as stated in the agenda?
Motion.
All right, we will open this one up for discussion. There's a lot to cover in this one. So why don't we go ahead, Sam, you're gonna kind of walk us through what we've got in here?
Yeah.
At least for invoices, and then we can obviously open it up for the change order.
Yep. So our first, for CSG is obviously our standard monthly invoice. And then we jump down to ONG for a little over 6 million. Nelson, do you want to touch base on that a little bit?
Yes, this application, it's a good portion of it is structural steel. So we cut it back slightly because they were billing more of area D and E than what this period covered. So we adjusted the steel trade contractor back. There's also HVAC and electrical equipment that are physically on site in Connex boxes. So that's also a heavy portion in here. There's and the concrete as well. The concrete foundations are nearing completion, but for this period, they were slightly adjusted back, but nothing drastic. So it's pretty standard billing. We are progressing on schedule. So this does lag. Again, this is for the period ending March 31st. So if you were typically to go out there, there's more work taking place than what's actually reflected in the payment application.
Anybody have any questions on that particular invoice specifically?
Meg, just for everybody's information, in the packets in front of you, we didn't print all 350 pages for everybody. So you will see the cover pages for like this application, and then when Sam, we review the change orders, we have a cover page that gives an explanation, who's reviewed it, the amount, that's what we included there, but all of the backup is in the electronic version that you received.
And what you're seeing is, you're seeing all these notarized certified copies. So it's our application, and then each trade contractor has their certified application. That's what really makes it very long. And they'll get longer.
Our website didn't even allow us to, Devin had to upload it in 11 parts.
Yes. Well, like reading for you, if you're looking for something. Okay, so we can go around to TSKP, anything that's, again, standard professional services for Marty,
Yeah, I don't have anything else, Archie, you have anything to add to it?
nothing specific there. All right, the next three, commissioning services, materials testing, you've seen these, right?
Yeah, so we've
Previously.
seen these before, so IES, like we've talked about before, is the commissioning agent for the project. So we actually had a kickoff meeting with them a couple weeks ago to kind of establish when they're gonna need to come on site to start doing commissioning of all the mechanical and electrical systems, as well as the building envelope. They're gonna have to look at that as well, so this is just their monthly invoice for them to review documents, come out to the site as needed, things like that. Yeah, so I don't know if anyone has any questions on that. Then jumping down to IMTL, so IMTL is our testing agency, which I know Mark has gone over with you guys as well. They come out as ONG needs them to do testing on a variety of things. It could be concrete, it could be masonry, basically whatever ONG needs tested. And ONG and myself will verify that we received all the testing reports, we review the reports. And address them if there's things that got rejected or weren't approved for whatever reason.
Okay, makes sense to everybody so far? Okay. So we're then going to get into the section here on change orders. So this is where we're going to probably need a little bit more detail. Specifically on some of these, so first one up there is the grease trap. Change, this is something we have discussed at the building committee previously, and now we're seeing the change order here in front of us. So anything specific there, or no additional details around this, right?
Do you want me to walk through this sheet? I don't know. We've gone over this.
Oh, actually seeing it for the first time?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
pretty good.
so this is the cover sheet that we put on all of our change orders, whether it's a additional cost to the project or credit back to the project, so. It's just basically a brief overview of what the change order is, so it has date, number, name, what the cost of the change order is, a quick description. And then what the reason for the change order is, so there could be a variety of reasons, if things were requested by the owner, so if there's something that. Just wasn't included that the owner wants, that means design team requested. If there's something that TSCP or the consultants feel needs to be added or adjusted. Construction manager requested kind of the same thing, but from ONG's perspective. Omission or errors in drawings or specifications, so if something just was missed or was left out, that's what that means. And then other. Something comes up that doesn't fall into one of those categories. And then whether it comes out of the construction contingency or the owner contingency, so obviously. We have our owner contingency built into the project budget, but ONG also has their construction contingency built into their GMP. That they can pull out of as well. So we'll track that in addition with ONG tracking that. And then this is the older version of the sheet, but on the newer version, it'll say if it was reviewed by the CM, the design team, us, and then the decision-making group. So as long as all those boxes are checked, then that's when it comes to this committee.
Sam, I think that box is checked incorrectly.
That should be the owner contingency, it might be, so we can adjust that and fix it, but. Yeah, and then any other notes or anything else needed for the change order, so that's kind of just a brief overview of what the sheet describes.
So just as a point of clarification, if we remember back to the decision-making group, so we did have conversations in the building community, we have designees as part of the decision-making group that help do validation on all these things prior to them coming to us, and they have a threshold as to when they can approve or when it needs to come to us directly. We will always see a change order no matter the amount, but as far as really kind of getting validation,
before PCO gets presented here, there's advanced copies that are sent to the design team, there's reviews. Our office will review it. CSG will also do a review, so there's multiple, then we'll discuss it at meetings. So when it gets presented here, it's been vetted, it's been adjusted. Even sometimes, there's the design team could show specific material and, an alternate material is submitted and accepted. So when it gets presented here, and those specifically through the decision-making group, it's been through a very long process.
Any questions on the sheet? All right. So we'll go to there, obviously, as mentioned, there's a sheet for each one, each change order that's included. We have several here. I'm not sure if we need to go into detail, but just to give us a little bit of detail on the credit back.
Yeah, I can provide that explanation. So back prior to the referendum for additional monies, there were many discussions as far as what could be taken out if the referendum was failed. And once the referendum passed, there were a few, not a lot, but there were a few items, well, it might be just the right thing to do, to change the material or to entertain these cost saving measures. That the design team said it was acceptable, and also the decision making group and between O&G and CSG. So these credits that you're seeing, they've been reviewed, and now we're basically putting them into taking them out of the contract, out of the GMP, so that these credits now go into the owner's contingency outside of the GMP. So that's why you see, that they're credit deducts. So these are, as an example, the footing drains at areas C and D. So footing drains were eliminated primarily throughout the entire building, except a wet spot that town has dealt with between the track area. And it's basically the toe of that hill, you're getting some, residual water. So the area by steam, which is your, not steam, but like the STEM arts, A for arts, that area, the loading dock still has the footing drains, everything else was eliminated. So there's a portion, so it wasn't the full credit. We design wise still installed a portion, probably 25% of the building has footing drains. Underground storm and sanitary, cast iron, so cast anything above the slab except for the grease waste lines, which need to still be in cast iron. Everything was changed to PVC. That was a good savings. Plumbing hangers, it's just the method of hanging the plumbing and the HVAC ductwork. Those were credits that were accepted, acceptable alternative hanger that is less expensive and achieves the same goal, same design parameters. The $70,000 credit was a trade allowance that was, once we calculated a unit price between Laurel, Purcell, and myself, we're never going to go through $70,000. The allowance was, the way you calculate it post bid based on their unit price was a $90,000 line item that we'd never go through that amount. So I think 20,000 is sufficient. So it's to re-roof any area that would require re-roofing because of the various trades working on the roof. So that's bringing that trade allowance down by $70,000. That goes back to the owner's contingency. And then the $74,000 $277 credit is building field building the display cases instead of purchasing a display case from a factory. It's less expensive. It follows PSKP's design from a previous project, and it achieves the same aesthetics, and you'll have nice display cases for less money. So that 74,277 is another credit. That's the credits. I can talk about the large PCO, which is this.
No, so just cover the carbon monoxide ones first and then we'll handle it.
So the carbon monoxide, the design team issued a bulletin that added some carbon monoxide detectors. The school had carbon monoxide detectors, but they
Some of them are relocated and some were added, so I can give the number, it's about 4 relocated and 7 added.
so there were some added devices. This was reviewed with PSKP, and originally the price was more than 6,000 and change, but this is the cost to add 5-6 devices and relocate some others. And going to the large one here. This is the one that I reported last month briefly, that it was potentially a $300,000, $330,000 change. This was Eversource requirements to provide a secondary loop to the campus transformers. The power to the new high school comes from the 900 transformer, and design wise feeds the new high school. And when Eversource came in at the 11th hour, literally said, you know, this is, you have more than one transformer on site, and based on our requirements, we're gonna, you know, you need to add a secondary loop coming up from Monteith. There were 3 different locations that they proposed. The one that made sense was going up because Monteith was already being torn up for this, the paving work and the sidewalk work. And also there's a portion to add a conduit for the fiber, for the school's fiber, going up Monteith to the top of the hill. That was the best location. And it's a good thing to have, because about a week and a half ago in front of Wood and Tap, one of their lines came down, and it wasn't a car accident. It was a bad line that came down and actually burnt half of the pole. So even underground lines can fail. So by having the secondary loop, you're never gonna lose power to the building, because now Eversource has an alternative way to feed your transformer to the high school. So you probably know that, you know, that your lines are aging outside of the property, and this is one of their requirements, and they communicated it to the project team well after the fact. So we did have some meetings. Russ Arnold was with us. Yeah, we got trailer packed with a lot of professionals, and we also put Eversource in, you know, you put their feet to the fire as a project team. CSG was there as well, and came back and brought this proposal down to 242,000 from what it could have been 300 plus.
So to clarify, never lose power is only because of a failed line, not when you have a storm event and all the power goes out. So and then the second thing is from the residential side, we do the same thing. We're required when we do a new road to come around both ways for that same reason.
And, you know, Eversource is a good company, but, you know, the question is posed, what if we say no? You don't get power. Yeah, so you know, that's a utility company for you. So, but they did work with us, and they did propose, you know, alternative ways of, you know, conduit materials and bedding materials, and it brought the project or the PCO substantially down by almost a third.
Any questions? Any questions or?
I did have to
thoughts?
go along on that, 'cause it's not, that's not a small,
Well, and that's
It's not
why I thought it was
small.
important that we kind of spend a little bit of time on making sure it's clear and understand the information behind that. So I think it's appreciated for us to kind of understand history and.
and it took about a month from our last meeting
That's right.
to where we're at right now.
It's kind of it just been discovered, I think. at the- at the
Was
last
that,
meeting.
was that day.
Yes. Yeah.
And once we found out about it, we immediately got someone from Eversource out here to kind of walk us through it. And just like Nelson said, ask the question, well, what happens if we say no? And the response was, well, school doesn't have power. So, we definitely made sure that we reduce the cost as much as we can. While also making sure all the labor, material, and equipment were covered as well.
The positive part, we're adding potential for five outfits, right? Correct.
That's a small
Yes.
portion on the PCO, it's about 15,000 of this portion. And you're getting a lot of value by doing, if you did that as a standalone change order, it would have probably been maybe double. So by doing it with this work, because they're already opening up a trench and an excavation and bedding and all that, you're getting a very good value for that fiber line. That would have been a PCO separately.
Nelson, maybe also, just mention, or I'll mention, that part of the discussion was Eversource explaining to the team what they were doing in order to support this project. They outlined, because you're not paying for everything that needs to be done in order to bring power to the building. Part of this meeting was them outlining the things that they're doing so that they can service it. And what is not part of project costs, it's part of their infrastructure upgrades, services. So there's a little bit of give and take in terms of them showing what we weren't paying for directly. Part of what they need to do with the service.
To Mike's point, it's, what they charge for, which is part of, the reimbursable to get the transformer on site. That cost is substantially less than, because they hire a subcontractor of their own, which is Charter Oak. And, what they charge for that, that transformer, providing the transformer and all the feeders that go to the transformer, $15,000 per transformer. It's nothing, so they are absorbing a lot of those costs on their end instead of charging into the project.
The time for these credits to come back.
Yeah, exactly. The timing is, yes, exactly, does help balance it a little bit. Any other questions or points of clarification on that? Everybody's good on kind of a quick run through of what's in that G2 item. I just took a couple of things away. I think we just need to look at the cost source on that change order number 3.
Yep, I'll adjust it and send it from you on it.
And description updated sounds like, Chair, right, on number 13. For the carbon monoxide, did we need to update the language a little bit?
I can update it based on what Nelson said.
Just to make
Just make
that's
sure,
the case.
just say that because it was
Just to make sure
relocated.
it's accurate.
Also just on.
Yeah, I think it was add 7 carbon monoxide and eliminates 4.
Yeah,
If that
that's
was
the
the correct
update.
one. For the total.
A total.
Location.
And then for the IMTL invoices, maybe, I don't know if you need to label it as 1A, 1B and A, 1B, B in the description. Because the numbers are the same, but they just label A, B.
Gotcha.
Right, with those changes in mind, we got some item modifications of the documentation. If there's no other questions. All in favor? Just waiting for online eyes.
Aye.
Yeah, thank you. All right, opposed? All right, the motion passes. All right, so then I believe that's everything on our agenda this evening, unless there's any other new business. All right, can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Right, you'll adjourn at 5:48 this evening. Thank you, everyone.